I thought that I knew everything about myself and everyone else. I always thought I'm really good at solving my own problems and other people's. But I have learned that I'm really bad at it sometimes because I can clearly see your problems without any trouble, but seeing my own, well, not so clear. So today you were going to talk to Jay about why I can clearly see what's wrong with everything and everyone else around me, but me, myself, what's going on? Why can't I see myself as clear as I can other people?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think this affects a lot of us, all of us.
Yes, agreed.
Well, we could just start with desire, like how much you want it. How bad do you want it? So would you say you want to see your own problems as much as you want to see other people's problems?
No, not at all.
Right. Okay. So in life, if I ask you to go pick up litter in the ghetto, or I ask you to go swimming on a beach with me, which one's more likely to happen?
Go swimming on a beach with you.
Right. And the other one is very unlikely to happen.
Yeah, because it sounds less fun.
Right. Because you don't want to. You just don't have the desire to. So in life, if we wonder why something happens in one area but doesn't happen in another, or happens for one person or doesn't happen for the other, what does it often come down to?
Well, you don't want to do it.
Right. You just don't want to.
Well, I mean, it sounds like such a simple thing, like a simple answer, but I feel like there's more to that than just you don't want to.
Well, maybe, but I mean, it's a start. Like, if we could measure everybody or survey everybody or something, and they all complained that they could see other people's problems, but they couldn't see their own, if it turns out that pretty much all of them don't want to, like they don't want to see their own problems, but they prefer to see other people's problems, what's the conclusion?
Well, the conclusion is they prefer to look at other people than themselves, or they don't know how to look at themselves.
Yeah, but we're talking specifically about want and desire.
Oh, well, they have zero desire to help themselves, or zero desire to like look at their own problems. They want to look at other people's. Yeah.
Yeah. As a kid, I was all about this. Like, I was the problem solver and the advice giver, and like I just preferred to see other people's problems rather than look at myself or audit myself or examine myself or admit the reality of my own life.
Right.
And I mean, maybe I still have that problem. I don't know. But I aim to accept reality and look at how I spend my time and look at like my progress and my days and my momentum and what I've been doing. And
no, so I'm sorry, but I've never met anyone who looks at themselves more than you do. And I mean, internally, right? So we had an issue of timing with the tea one time, and it was my bad about not telling you it was ready or whatever. It was a long time ago. And when I went in your room and I went to bring you the tea, you were like, is there anything that I can change? Is there anything that I can fix? So the idea that you are like that you're not looking at yourself or your problems is kind of funny to me, because I've never met anyone in my life who is ready to change instantly, and not to satisfy other people but because that's what you do. Like, you're all about change. So yeah, I think you're really good at that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But it comes from many years of being stubborn and arrogant and rigid and unopen to change. So like, I had my phase of that. I was worse than everybody at that. And I was always focused on other people's problems and other people's flaws and how I could fix things for other people rather than myself. And so
yeah,
like, I still enjoy that, right? I still enjoy offering my insight to uplift and elevate others. But it's even more important that I see myself clearly.
Yeah, I think so, especially because you are helping others, because you are a coach and you are a mentor. So if you're not able to do that for yourself, this is not very helpful. Where for me, I'm still on that journey, and so that's probably why I feel more comfortable coaching and teaching, newbies and beginners, because I'm not at that stage where you are, looking at myself, and it's super easy for me to look at someone else and it, not in a judgmental way, but I'm just saying, like, to look and see what their issues are, whether they're writing to me or in a conversation. It's so easy for me to see thing you need to change and do.
Sure. But why is it easy? Like,
because I'm not looking at myself.
well, but what makes something go from hard to easy? There's a special thing that we can use to make something that's difficult become easy.
Practice.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And so what do you have a lot of practice at?
Oh, seeing other people's problems,
Right.
seeing all the things wrong with them,
And what do you have very little practice at?
seeing them in myself.
Right. So everyone out there who has trouble seeing their own flaws or issues or quirks or problems or obstacles or challenges or whatever you call it, A, they often don't want to see that. They literally do not want to. They see it like, I don't know, picking up litter or climbing Mount Everest or something else. Like, they're just like not into it. Or if they do want to, they're out of practice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Even recently, I had to take a hard look at myself and my life and my decisions and look at my progress over the years and be like, dude, what are you doing? What have you done? And I had to make a new decision and make a change. And it was a big eye opener. And it's like, I thought I was good at this. I thought I was good at seeing myself. Like, was I blind to this? And so even people who practice it can still struggle with it. So yeah, the desire to see ourselves and practice at seeing ourselves are pretty key.
That's interesting. And so I'm, because I'm here in Florida, I'm around some people who are really, really good at seeing the things that other people have to fix and need to fix. So someone recently said to me, I don't care about what other people think. And then not 10 seconds later, they were saying, oh my God, well, I don't want the neighbors to think blah, 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 whatever. And oh my God, the neighbors are going to see blah, 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 blah. Or and I was like, literally, did you not just see how, like, why could she not see that she totally cares about what the neighbors think and what people think? And her whole thing was the other person she was talking about also. So to me, it was like a projection, and she's not seeing this clearly. And actually, this is what inspired this episode, because I was like sitting there with my mouth open, like, really? You can see that she cares about what other people think, but you can't see what yourself, well, you just said it. It wasn't like days that went by. It was literally the next statements out of her mouth. So now I understand. Is it because she has zero practice at this? She has no idea how to, or desire. She has no idea how to, and no desire to see it in herself.
Right.
It's your own problem.
Yeah. So if someone has no desire and no practice, how are they ever going to realize that thing?
No, they can't.
Yeah.
And so
if you don't want groceries in your fridge and you have no practice at getting groceries, how is this going to magically happen?
it can't.
Yeah, you better want it and then go practice it.
Right. Okay. So just a side thing, because at the moment, like, we had to go and we didn't finish the conversation, but I'm curious now that we're talking about this. Do you think I should have pointed out the irony to her so she could start to see and maybe practice? Maybe because no one's taught her, no one's told her. Well, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Thanks.
It kind of depends. It depends on the relationship you have with this person. It depends on how close you guys are. It depends on how good you are at communicating and how articulate you are. It depends if you phrase it in the form of a question or a story or a barb or a jab. Like, there's so many factors in should I tell them or not. But really, everyone's on their own journey, and everyone starts looking at themselves and practicing this thing in their own time. And we can try and nudge it along or speed it up. But anytime you try to nudge someone along or speed it up, it usually goes poorly.
That's true.
Anyway, because of that, it's usually safer, easier, more reliable, more effective to just role model looking at yourself. Like, role model how to look at oneself, but do it in front of them. Do it often. Like I did with the tea with you. Like,
right.
Maybe someone's 100% at fault, but you just take a look at yourself anyways. And you're like, is there anything I can do to make sure this doesn't happen in the future? And they're like, dude, I crashed the car. What? Why are you asking that? But you're like, well, right. I want to look at myself in the situation and see reality and see if there's anything I could have done differently or better to help. So this kind of role modeling is usually the most effective. It's how kids learn to walk and talk. They don't learn from people teaching them and explaining it like a textbook. They learn it from role models. They learn it from observing and copying. And same for most adults. Like, you can tell someone something over and over, but unless they see you do it and you're practicing what you preach, they're unlikely to pick it up.
True. That's really true.
I've
Okay.
I've done my best to teach people marketing and engagement and networking and community building, but they rarely ever do it unless I sit down and race them or do it with them or do an example or show them that I do it. And then if I go back to my own life and don't do it, they won't do it either. And it's like, so I guess I just have to do it then. Otherwise, they're not going to learn.
Right. Well, that makes sense, what you're saying. I mean, that's kind of crappy, but it still makes sense. Well, I think in the moment, it was fine what I did because it wasn't like the most opportune moment. But I know this will come up again because this isn't the only thing that I've heard her say, like, noticing other people, not in herself. And it makes people think that she's a hypocrite. So do you think that's true? Like,
you are a hypocrite if you don't practice what you preach.
Right.
If you say one thing and do the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But all of us are hypocrites somehow in some way at some point in our lives. The trick is to just be as little of a hypocrite as possible. Have the highest integrity as possible. Practice what you preach as much as possible. And if you practice that, you'll get good at it. And most people won't be able to call you a hypocrite ever because it'll be hard to catch you.
Fair play. All right. Yeah, because there's some things, we've talked about this before, like certain things that I'm like, well, you're like, you'll be a hypocrite if you do that or say that. And I've said, okay, that's fine for that particular thing because I know going in, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, but you still want to avoid it.
I was just going to say, but I don't really want that to be the case for all the things. Right. And so I want to have integrity and keep my word and feel good about that the things I say, I follow through, I don't for everything. And if I notice it in someone else, I notice an issue, I want to be able to notice it in myself fast. And so there's been times in the past where I've said to you about a client or even someone on the internet or whatever, I made a comment about their posting or their attitude or whatever. And you're like, yeah, but you did it too.
Yeah, I said it a lot of times.
I know. And every time you've said it has been that little, ugh.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel good. Like,
no,
it shouldn't feel comfortable. No
Yes.
one should feel comfortable if they're criticizing others or pointing out some flaw in others and they have it in themselves currently at the present moment.
Yeah.
And they probably shouldn't even feel good about it if they've done it in their past or if they might do it in their future. This is why we avoid judgment, right? Judge not lest ye be judged.
Right.
And if someone calls you on that hypocrisy, like it's natural and correct to feel uncomfortable. Like,
yeah. Yes. And anytime that I felt like that, I've actively worked to change that thing, whatever it is, whether it's my thoughts on it, my feelings, or if there's action I can do to change whatever it is. I can't always right away, but I want to make sure that I'm not in that place. I don't want to be like this other person who can see everything clearly for everyone else, but not for myself. Because to me, it's more important that I see me clearly than other people. No?
Yeah, and that's the thing about hypocrisy. If you start looking at yourself, you see a lot of it. And because you see a lot of it, then you have to make a lot of changes. You have to change all your actions so that they match your words. You have to practice what you preach. And if you take a look at yourself and notice that you're not practicing what you preach, it's very uncomfortable and it forces a lot of changes. This is another reason why people prefer to look at others than themselves, because if they avoid looking at themselves, they avoid all the work of change.
Yes. Okay.
Right? What's the easiest shortcut to never have to change and to stay in your comfort zone?
Oh, well, never working on yourself, never looking at yourself, because then you can't say. So I didn't practice what I preached recently because I had some ice cream and then I had some fried food. And while it didn't, it's not going to do a lot of damage to myself, to my situation, like that one time, but because I preach being healthy and eating right and eating whole foods and feeling good and listening to my body, those moments felt really bad because I wasn't practicing what I preached.
So yeah, but this is kind of an example of you catching yourself and being aware of it and looking at yourself and resolving to make some kind of change next time.
Right.
This is very different from someone who's pointing out flaws in others and refusing to see those same flaws in themselves, or avoiding it, or avoiding looking at themselves. And so they get different results. Yours is going to result in a changed sin, a changed person who is living better because you did the work of looking at yourself and making changes. The other person, in my other example, will struggle along in life, making zero changes and suffering from the same flaw forever, or for a long period of time until they decide to look at themselves. It's kind of like if you imagine a dark stage with one spotlight on it, and the spotlight is always on one of the other actors and not the main act. It's always on one of the side characters. And so as long as we keep the spotlight on the side characters, like what they're doing wrong or what they should do better or how to fix them or how to fix that, if that spotlight is shone on those characters, even if those characters are awesome with just one tiny mole or pimple or something, as long as that light is there, we can focus on the mole or the pimple in others. Meanwhile, we could be a total disaster in the dark, right? We could be like the worst human with a million flaws and like pimples everywhere and warts and falling apart and disfigurements and like butchering ourselves and self-harm and whatever. But no one's looking at that. There's no spotlight shone on that. Nobody's putting their attention on that. The attention is on some side character. And so as long as we live this way, with the spotlight always on the side characters, we can ignore any personal change or self-development work or behavioral change in ourselves. Like we never have to change.
Right. Well, that just makes a lot of sense to me. Now I understand why it's easier for this particular person that I'm talking about that is constantly seeing what everyone else does. And the people around her, when they do talk about her behind her back, this is something they very much point out. Like, she says this, this, and this, but she does this, this, and this.
Sure. And if you're a hypocrite, people will not like it and they will talk about you.
Right.
So don't be a hypocrite as much as possible.
Right. As much as possible. Yeah.
Don't project as much as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Judge not.
Yeah. It's not okay. So, all right. So say someone watching or listening has realized, wow, I do this too. I do this sometimes, or I do this once in a while, and they want to change it. They want to change this thing. And I know we have to practice doing this, but if we are blind to something about ourselves, how can we see it? Does someone else have to point it out for us? Or really, how can we get to the bottom of it alone or with your help?
Yeah, so relying on someone to magically swoop in and point out things that you need to work on is a bit sketch.
Right. Okay.
People are focused on their lives and doing their thing. And most of the time when they see a hypocrite or catch someone projecting, they don't call them out. It's a giant hassle.
Right. Well, also, if you have a history of being a hypocrite and not being able to see your own things, people don't really want to because they're afraid you're going to hypocrite on them.
Yeah, if you're not open to feedback or criticism, then no one's going to give it to you. At the same time, even if you are open to feedback and criticism, most people are too scared to say anything that's not polite, ever. Like, they just won't give you an honest answer. You could ask them directly. You could be like, here's a giant list of things people have criticized me on. I have taken 100 criticisms already. Would you please say something that needs improvement or give me some honest feedback? And they'll still be polite. Like, they literally will never feel safe to give you honest feedback unless they're anonymous. If they're anonymous trolls on the internet, they'll say all the shit.
That's interesting. Do you think it's because they are afraid to hurt the person's feelings, even though they know this could help them be better? Or do you think they do it because something within themselves, like they're afraid they just can't be honest with other people?
So if someone lives most of their life putting the spotlight on others and never turning it on themselves, what is the last thing that person living in the dark wants?
They don't want the spotlight on themselves.
Okay. So imagine you have a friend and you go and ask them for feedback, but that friend also lives in the dark, also puts the spotlight on others. And so Now you're saying directly to the friend, I want you to put the spotlight on me and let's reveal all my dark tendencies and my issues. I'm open to it.
Right.
Why would the person want to do that? Like, if the last thing they want in the world is their darkness revealed, then why would they step up and reveal your darkness when you ask them?
Well, I guess it makes sense because if they turn the light on the other person, the light still spills onto you.
Well, not just that, reciprocation is fair game. As soon as they do that.
Oh, yeah. Then the other person's going to go, yeah, but you do this, this, and this.
Or someone else might. Like, if they have their way, no one will ever put the spotlight on themselves.
Right.
Because that's the thing they fear the most. Self-spotlighting is what they fear most. And this is most of the world, most of society. So even if you ask someone for honest feedback and you're mature and you're ready to handle it and you're like, look, if you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, I may take issue with it or disagree with you, but I'm ready to have an honest conversation. Even if you make them as safe as possible, even if you're like, I'll give you $2,000, they might still stick with the politeness. They might still do anything than self-spotlight. And if they spotlight you, they know it opens the door to self-spotlighting.
Yeah. It does.
So they have to do it from the cheap seats. They have to do it from far with people who aren't their friends. They have to spotlight other people. But if they have an honest, authentic conversation where someone's actually stepping up and saying, please criticize me, they don't want any part of that.
Yeah. So they'll be polite and blow it off and be like, you're fine, you're great, because to protect themselves.
Yeah. Think about every time you've ever made a product or made a blog post or made a t-shirt or made an art or craft or something, and you want honest feedback from someone. Is it just coming from left and right? Is it super available? Or do you just get, great job, honey, you're awesome, I love you?
Yes, great job. You did a wonderful job. Great car.
You literally have to pay people to give you proper criticism.
Yeah, the only person that gives me proper criticism is you. But again, like I've said a million times, you're like a weird alien man who is different from most people.
Sure.
So,
but how many times have you told me that I'm not open to feedback or criticism? I've said it
to you a whole bunch of times.
Right.
A whole bunch of times. And it's not true. It's not true. It's definitely in those moments I've projected my own stuff, which is that I'm not open to feedback and criticism. And I am open to that stuff, but I feel like in the moments I've said it, or about the topic, I wasn't. But I can see that now. I can see that if I'm saying that, then there's a reason. Like the whole, I'm projecting that from myself onto you.
Yeah, my only point is I'm one of the safest people I know.
Yeah.
I judge practically nothing. You could be a hooker or a thief or a murderer or like have some kind of crazy past or, you've done terrible things, and it's like, it's all good, man. I don't judge. Like, I love all humans and we can figure something out. And like, I have a track record, a history of not judging people.
Your track record is pretty insane with that, by the way, just for anyone listening who's interested in coaching with you, who should know this, because I have said some pretty awful stuff that I've done in the past. I was not a nice person, you guys. The sweet, nice, kind person that you see now is not who I used to be for many years. And I have told Jay some pretty dark stuff, some pretty not nice things that most people would judge me for, and he didn't bat an eye, and he didn't judge me in any way. And not only not judge me, but never threw it back in my face in opportunities where a normal person would.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And I'm happy to listen to anybody's story, and they'll receive no judgment from me. But my point is, even with that crazy track record, you still didn't want my criticism and labeled me as someone who was unopen to feedback.
Yeah.
But I love feedback. I'm like, just make me better. Let me rise up. What do I need to do? Do I need to relax more? Do I need to get outside more? Is my sentences too long? Are they too wordy? Is it unclear? Is my art off brand? Are the colors not right? Is something blurry? Like, I literally don't care. Like, just give me the feedback. And it doesn't mean I'm going to jump on it all and run around and live my life according to other people, but I appreciate seeing reality, and I appreciate seeing other people's viewpoints and perspectives. And I value feedback. Feedback is so precious. I would totally pay for it. Like, it is a job someone should have, like professional feedback expert. I considered having that as my career because I'm very good at feedback and being a sounding board and bouncing ideas and guiding people's thought processes and stuff.
You're incredible at that, actually. And so I just want to tell an interesting story real quick. When we first met, you you wrote a story. I can't remember. I think it was for our book. I think, or no, it was a shirt. It was because our first business was the book and then the shirt. It was one of those two. Anyway, you wrote this story and you emailed me and you said, "Can I make this better?" And I read the whole thing and I thought, I can't say that to him. I can't tell him how to make this better. I can't do that. I would change this and this. There were a couple like little things. I would have changed this and whatever. And then I sent the feedback to you and you didn't say anything. And then like we had this conversation a few weeks later, a few days later, and you were like, I had to send this to someone else because you wouldn't give me any feedback. You said it was perfect. And I was like, oh, I guess I should have been honest. And then like fast forward all the years later and all the edits I've done for you, like I'm your editor now for the most part. I mean, there's some stuff I haven't done because I've been focused on other things, but for the most part, I've edited most of your work. And now I have no hesitation to like, get rid of this, add this, no problem. Like, but it took me a long time because in the beginning, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. And I thought like, maybe he's not open to feedback, but that was all my projections. Like when you asked me to help you make it better. And instead I was like, oh, it's so perfect and great and wonderful. And you don't need any changes. Like it's so lame. That's such a lame thing to do. When someone is asking for feedback and help and you're just so in your head about your crap and you're like, oh, it's great. When inside, you know, it could be better if they change the color, if they change the font, if they like outline to, I don't know, and I was afraid. And so I'm sorry that ever happened. And I'm glad that you helped me be better.
Yeah, my pleasure. And it's a perfect example of how most people don't want to self-spotlight. And so if you go ask someone to spotlight you, if you have any relationship at all with this person, they almost certainly will not.
No, they will tell you all the great things that they think you want to hear. And it's not just that they think you want to hear what they would want to hear themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a great writer. This is perfect. It's exactly what I want. Now, whenever you send me stuff, even it happened yesterday, you send me stuff, I always look at it first with like someone who's never seen its eyes, and then as an editor, what's wrong with this? How can I make it better? Like, what's crap about it? I always ask myself, what's crap about this?
Sure.
Because I know how important feedback is now I realize that I don't want people telling me, you know, oh, look, your outfit looks lovely, and then when I turn around and look in the mirror, my skirt's tucked into my underpants, you know?
Yeah, the more authentic the person, the more authentic the feedback.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. So the more authentic the person, the more authentic the feedback. That makes sense.
Right. That's why my feedback's really good. Not to brag, but I'm pretty authentic.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And anybody who's listening or watching who wants honest, real honest feedback, like it might hurt your feelings feedback, but you can help it and change it with that honesty. Jay's the guy. Email me if you want any help with it. I will help you get that honest, real 100% feedback.
Yeah, that's why Evan Carmichael wanted me on his team for like 10 years, because I was the only one who gave the pure, honest feedback.
Yeah, and he used to say, I remember in his videos or on his live streams and stuff, he would say stuff like, let me know what you guys hate. Don't tell me it's great. Tell me what you hate.
And that's what he wanted. And that's what I gave.
Yes.
But I didn't even need to be asked. I do that naturally. So there are a few bold, courageous, authentic people in the world who will give you bold, courageous, authentic feedback. But 99% of society just won't, unless they're anonymous. And when they're anonymous, all the gloves come off and they just say all the craziest stuff they want to say.
Now that's a good point. So let me ask you this. So for the people on the internet that can see so clearly every issue that anyone ever has, and they say it in the meanest ways, like what's up with them? Because clearly they can see everything wrong
Yeah.
with me
What
and
do you
my
think?
body and my looks or whatever.
What do you think happens with them and the spotlight?
Oh, I think they're so terrified of the spotlight that they can't even spell the word.
Yeah, they
Like,
would do anything to keep the attention on other people.
right.
Most people
Yeah.
are afraid of attention. They're afraid of their own attention on themselves,
Right.
and they're afraid of other people's attention on them.
Yes.
So
Yes.
attention is like the scariest thing in the world for them. They want to be invisible. They want to be unnoticed. They want to blend in. They want to be normal. They want to live normal. They want to be belonging and fit in. And they don't want to lose a single connection or upset a single person or ruffle a single feather or rock a single boat. They want the most bland life they could possibly ever achieve or imagine. And they do that by keeping the attention on everybody else. They spend 24 hours a day trolling the internet to keep the attention on other people. Their feed is filled with things that they can spotlight. They are just looking for a place to feel self-righteous, people to judge and to blame, so they can spotlight others and keep the spotlight off themselves. They want their darkness to stay dark forever. The last thing they want to do is step up boldly and courageously look at their darkness and then change it and make it light. So what do you expect?
All right. Well, that makes sense. Of course, they don't ever want to look at themselves, so they
We've all
crap
been
on other people. Yeah, I have too.
And we
I
might
have.
still be there if we're not careful.
Well, yeah, that's very true.
Do we want to look at ourselves for our business? I took a look at our podcast numbers recently and compared them to just some other rando on the net, and I was like, this is the harshest look I've ever had to look at myself. Like, what?
Yeah.
How can I have 72 episodes of fire and this other dude has 13 episodes of fluff and he's demolishing my numbers? I like, what?
Yeah.
I have to look at myself.
Yeah,
And
I
admit
agree.
the truth. And then am I going to just be like, oh, well, I guess that's how it is? Or am I going to make changes?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up because I was going to talk to you about it after we stopped filming. But yeah, because it's funny because if somebody looked at my responses to that conversation about that dude, they would think I would did the same. But
yeah, it did look like it for a second. Are you spotlighting this guy or are you spotlighting yourself?
Right. And so I left the conversation with you in text, but I haven't stopped thinking about it. And it annoyed me too. Like we have 72 episodes. We have like over 500 videos of all pure fire, amazing content. And this dude has blown us out of the water. And so I've been thinking a bunch of ways to fix this. Like what can I improve? How can we improve? What did he do that I didn't do? So even if it looks like to other people who, if somebody picked up your phone or my phone and saw that conversation, they'd be like, oh, well, Sin just thinks, oh, that's how it's supposed to be, because I was just like, okay, whatever. But that's not true. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I have to not just see other people's things. It is vital to me to see my own stuff and to fix those things. And I know it's not just how it is.
Yeah, I love it. It's a good example. The thing is, no one says to my face, dude, you've been doing this podcast for a year. You have 72 episodes of fire. How come you have so low numbers, viewer counts, and listeners?
Right.
Not a single human being in my whole circle says this.
Right.
But they're all thinking it. And if they were anonymous and they didn't know me, they would say what needs to be said. They'd be like, dude, what the hell? It was like the world's best podcast. It's pure fire. And like, no one's hearing this. What are you doing? This is a joke. What are you, Van Gogh? Like, they would say it. All of them would think it and say it in their own ways if they were anonymous. But because they don't want the spotlight turned on themselves, they don't want reciprocation to happen. They don't want to turn the spotlight on me and call me out for that shit. And they'll tell themselves it's because, oh, he'll get mad, or, oh, he won't appreciate it, or he's bad at dealing with feedback or bad at dealing with criticism or something. But it's all projection. Like, they're just talking about themselves. Like, the reason they don't say the truth or speak out the truth is not because of me. It's because of them. And it's because they would never want me to turn my spotlight on them.
Well, it's the same for me, because if I say that, then I have to say, well, it's my fault.
Yeah.
I'm the marketer.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of content. I'm in charge of all that stuff of what we do every week on this episode, on these episodes.
You are in charge
So,
of it.
so then it's my fault. It's my responsibility. So not saying that to you is definitely been a way for me to not have to hear it's like, you're a bad marketer and Jay, probably needs someone else.
Yeah, who wants to admit that?
I don't.
Well, then,
Even though I just did, I don't. I mean, with all the other personal stuff that we've had happening, like that's the last thing I want to look at. But I have to, because I have to improve and I have to be better. And getting a subscriber here and there is not cutting it for us.
well, to start.
Or for me. Yeah, to start, it's great. I'm grateful for everyone. Please don't, like, I love them. And even if we stayed at 173 for the rest forever and evermore, well, all 173 of those people were helped and loved and felt like, and were engaged, and I wouldn't care. But sorry, guys, you're not. I love all 173 of you, but you're not all engaged. You're not all watching. You're not all being helped, even though you could very easily be. You're not. So that means I need more numbers and we need more eyeballs. And that's my department.
Yeah, and it can go deeper. Like, would I be more successful or get more numbers if my body was different, or my looks were different, or my fashion was different, or if I was living in a different place or with a different environment? Like, it's a whole rabbit hole. Like, once you start turning the spotlight on yourself, like once I turned the spotlight on myself when I was homeless, I had to take a hard look at like a whole bunch of stuff, not just one thing. Like, it's not just, oh, maybe I should get a job or something. It's like, oh, what have I done with my life? And how did I push people away? And do I not know nearly as much as I think? And am I studying the wrong things? And do I need a different routine or different environment? Or do I need to cut people out or find new people? Or it's just like a giant rabbit hole once you turn the spotlight on yourself, especially if you've been ignoring it for years. Then there's so much darkness and so many flaws and so much bullshit that you have to uncover and fix. It just feels overwhelming. And so then you definitely don't want to put the spotlight on yourself. And it's a vicious cycle, because then it gets worse and worse. And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Just saying that stuff about a marketer and finding a different one, or you probably need a better one. Like this, I already went down that rabbit hole in 3 seconds when you were saying it.
Sure.
My looks, my skills, my time, where I'm at, like the other business, and like all the things immediately. These are the things that I feel insecure about, and these are the things that I concern myself, that are the reasons that are holding us back. It's been 5 years. So yes, that giant rabbit hole I just went down in 3 seconds, it feels really bad. And this is why most of us are so hesitant to shine that spotlight on ourselves.
Yep.
It's easier to shine it on other people because, man, like now I have tears in my eyes. I'm feeling emotional. I know as soon as I turn this shit off, I'm probably gonna cry, and I know that I'm like, all of that rabbit hole stuff is gonna come up for me when the podcast is over and I'm alone again, because I don't want to look at that stuff, because I know it's my responsibility and it's my fault that our numbers are the way they are.
Well, no, it's mine too.
Yeah, but to be honest with everyone, it's not just conversation between us. This stuff that's important that we share, even if it hurts and sucks.
It's really, I'm proud of you. It's really authentic.
I know.
The point is, people prefer to see others' flaws and focus the spotlight on them because it avoids their darkness for decades, for their whole life if they want. But the thing is, the best people and the people you look up to and the most successful people are the ones who put the spotlight on themselves and looked hard at their flaws and their issues and their quirks and their tendencies and their strengths and their powers and their talents and their inclinations and their fetishes and their kinks and everything. And they looked at them and they owned them, and then they changed the ones they didn't like, and they kept the ones and turned up the ones that they did like. And the better you are at that, the better you are at life. So I know that I don't like marketing that much, and I want to partner with someone who likes to sell and be extroverted and make introductions and make connections. But I also know that I can do it if I have to. I'm aware of myself, and I've put the spotlight on myself, and I know where it'll take me. I know that I'd rather walk away from people who disrespect my advice and disrespect my integrity than keep them around for money or shelter or what they provide or whatever that bullshit is. Like, I'm not a people pleaser. And I know that about myself. I've put the spotlight on many things in my life, right? 3 years homeless will do that to you.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm lucky that I had my 3 years homeless, because it made this particular skill of looking at myself much easier. Even recently, I had to do it with some super uncomfortable situation. And I was like, well, maybe I have to throw everything away and start over again. And that's like a hard thing to admit. And it's a huge rabbit hole to go down. Like, you think your rabbit hole was big? Mine was way bigger. But I did it. I did it quickly. I did it on the spot. Like, I did it with full knowledge and consciousness, and I knew the repercussions. And then I got to look at myself and see what I wanted to believe, because belief matters a lot. And you can turn around a lot of really bad situations with belief. And so even though I uncovered some more of my darkness, I believed that it would come to light, and it did. So people hesitate to take the first step and put the spotlight on themselves and see all their darkness, because they're like scared and overwhelmed that, oh my God, now I have so much to fix, and this is super hard, and I have to change a lot, and now I'm going to be a hypocrite, and there's going to be a lot of repercussions, and I'm going to lose things that are important to me, and all this stuff. So much fear. But really, how do you fix anything? You were repairing a cable the other day, and what's the first thing you do to fix the cable?
Oh, well, turn on the lights.
Yeah, exactly.
And
if you want to improve anything in life, the first step is to turn on the lights. It's not a bad thing to turn on the lights.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If you hear a critter outside, what's the first thing you do?
Turn on the light.
Right. If it's like kind of dim and there's a bug on the floor, you can't quite see it or catch it, what do?
You turn on the light.
Right. So if you want to debug your life, you want to have a good life,
you got to turn on the light. Yeah.
Start by turning on the light. And it's not a bad thing. And even if there's lots of critters or lots of bugs or lots of flaws or whatever, great. Now I know there's many. At least I know how many I'm dealing with. And when I get one, I can check it off the list, and I can get 2, and I can get 3. And soon you have a great life. But the people who avoid the spotlight and never turn it on themselves and are always focused on others just get more and more bugs. Like, their life gets worse and worse and worse. Downward spiral. 9 Inch Nails. So like, yes, maybe you cry when you look at it, or when you turn on the light. Maybe it scares you. Maybe it's overwhelming. Yada, yada, yada. I get it. No one died from crying or scary or overwhelming. Like, they're just emotions. People feel them. It's whatever. So make peace with it. Put the spotlight on yourself. Take a hard look at yourself and admit the truth. And once you do, and everything is lit up and illuminated, you can then start repairing it, making your life better, improving it, elevating it, crafting it. If you're an artist and your life is your art, you better have some light to create with, to paint with, to sculpt with. Like, you're not going to shape your life in the dark, man. But most people are in the dark about themselves.
That's true. They are choosing to remain in the dark and live their life blindfolded, basically.
Yeah. Do you want to be in the dark about marketing, or about your relationship, about your career, about your job, about your environment?
No.
Do you want to take a real illuminated look at them?
No, I want to shine the spotlight and illuminate the crap out of them.
Right.
And really see all the corners and the nooks and crannies where things are hiding.
Yes. And then you can start believing in a better way, a better version.
Yeah.
Right? You could believe in great marketing. You don't have to believe in someone else replacing you. You could believe in being irreplaceable, an irreplaceable marketer. But not unless you turn the light on and admit where you're at.
True.
Yeah, the first step to fixing anything is to turn the light on first. You will not do this in the dark.
Fair enough.
So you asked why people often see things in others, but fail to see those same things in themselves. And I think we've covered a lot of ground here, and there's a lot of clear reasons why that might happen.
I agree. I really agree. You opened my eyes even more to the topic and the situation, and you helped me see the reason why, even though like I'm where I'm at now and I can shine the spotlight on myself, the time that I've been judgmental, seeing people's issues where they need to fix things, this is where I have the same things and I'm not looking at myself. Now I've learned to be a little less judgmental where I'm just noticing things. And I tend to say without judgment, I'm not judging, because for so long it was in a judgmental way. So I still have a long way to go, but this was really helpful for me on this journey for myself and helping other people, because this is what we do all day long, is helping other people. And so this is super, super good for me. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And there's other reasons. Like sometimes people are just too close to the problem.
Yeah.
Right. When you're too close to something, it takes up your whole vision and you don't see what's behind it. You don't see what's beside it. You don't see the cause of it. You don't see the root cause of it. You just see the thing. And so sometimes people just see no sales and they're super focused on no sales, and they don't see the traits about themselves or the behaviors in themselves that are causing the no sales. They're just too close to it. All they see is no sales. And so this has less to do with spotlighting and less to do with judging others and more to do with focus and distraction, or narrow-minded, narrow vision versus broader perspective. And so a lot of problems, if you want to solve them, you need to step back and be objective and get a broader perspective. A lot of things about ourselves that could be improved, we're too close to see a lot of the time. And so then we only end up seeing them reflected in others or in the results, right? We see like the results in our life, but we don't quite put it together that our behavior and choices cause those results. You're just too close to it. Like somebody keeps attracting a wrong partner over and over in a pattern. The wise thing to do would be to step back and look at yourself and be like, what is it about me that is attracting these kind of poor partners on a planet of 8 billion people? But sometimes people are just too close and they'll just chant over and over, oh, I always attract the worst partners. It's like, they're not looking at themselves at all. And they're too close to the wrong partners issue when they need to step back and look at their discernment or their vetting process or how they choose partners, right?
Fair play. Yeah. I happen to be great at choosing partners. I mean, now.
Good. It's a good way to go.
But I wasn't for many years. And it's just my roundabout way of complimenting you because you're awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just wanted to point that out as another reason that people might do what you said, right?
Yeah.
Another reason is they might be distracted or overstimulated. So we live in an era of like cheap dopamine and instant gratification. And so how are you going to look at your exercise routine if you're busy scrolling all day?
Yeah.
Where is your opportunity or your time or your focus to really tune into your body and find out what it needs? How are you going to examine the numbers in your business if you're gaming all day or if you're feeding yourself and pigging out all day? Like you have spare moments and you're like, oh, TV on, food in the belly. And we're definitely not going to do any self-examination of our business today. That's for sure. I got dopamine to hit, right? I got instant gratification to reach. The people we look up to in life are the people who find dopamine in their passions, in their priorities, in their mission. When they aren't getting the results they want, they take a break and go on a vision quest or go walk in nature or go spend some time alone to think things through and examine what am I doing and what am I doing wrong? What could I do better? And how much of the spotlight can I turn on myself and figure out how to improve, right? These are the people we look up to. They don't spend their days doom scrolling. They don't spend their days pigging out. They're out there in the world doing what's calling them. And if they're not getting the results they want, they will self-spotlight instantly.
That's true.
Yeah. And everyone, like we all need practice at this. I'm not the best at this, but it's what we should be aiming for. Like it will pay off. It's very rewarding. It will help you. And the faster you can get free of instant gratification and cheap dopamine, the faster you'll be able to focus on your mission and your calling and your dreams. We live in an age of distraction, and it's a major problem.
Yes.
And so if you're distracted, then the spotlight is always outside of you rather than inside of you.
Oh, that's so good, that line. That was a really good line.
Maybe I'll tweet it.
Yeah, I liked it. I really did. It's true. And I felt it when you said it. Like, and you're 100% right. The dopamine, like here I have worked to when my parents are home, to not hang out with them and to work, like to use the opportunity they're here and then I don't have to help and I can go work. But like if you have to squeeze your work into babysitting time,
what does this mean? Like, if we spotlight ourselves and look at it, what does it mean? Like, of course, you want to have a family balance and a family life. So it's not like I should be working all the time.
Right.
But also, if I have to squeeze my work into those windows, it seems strange. So, like, I don't know. It might be worth spotlighting. Like, it might be worth thinking about. Who knows? Either way, it's up to you to figure out what's a distraction and what's serving your calling, your mission, your purpose, your priorities. If your purpose is to connect with a soulmate and grow with them, that's a certain mission. It has certain things that will be required of you. If your mission is to go off on your own and build a giant empire, soulmates be damned, that's a different mission too. And that's fine too.
Right.
But it will require certain things of you. If your mission is to just support a family, that's it. I came to Earth to support a family and to be a family person. And it's not really related to soulmates or empires. It's just family. Then that's a different mission that will require different things of you as well. And so people need to get clear on their calling. It's important for people to tune in to their soul's calling, or what really speaks to them for their 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years on Earth, right?
Right.
Like, that time's ticking by and you're either moving towards one thing or another. And you can move towards one and then stop and quit, and move towards another and then stop and quit. And this is a very unfulfilling life because you don't actually get anywhere. And you look back on your life and you're like, damn, I didn't get anywhere. It's like, yeah, you didn't. Because you didn't tune into what you want and who you are and what you stand for and what's calling you. And you didn't prioritize it, and you didn't move towards it, and you kept pivoting and giving up and losing momentum and going nowhere. And life's a great journey, but not if you do that. And so, for some people, smoking weed is a distraction. But for some people, it might be the path to their famous rock band and their biggest career. I don't know.
Sure.
Only you know. Only they know. But since we're surrounded by cheap dopamine and instant gratification, it becomes very, very important to quickly figure out which is a distraction and which is really calling you.
Yeah, fair play. You're 100% right. Yes. Okay. See, this is very, very helpful for me today, for the situation that we're in and my mission and what we're doing, and how that I can look at what I'm doing and what I want, and tweak it and make it better. So I already see how I'm going to fix things and how I'm going to move forward after this. So thank you.
I love it. Hooray.
You're the best.
You're the best.
So do you have any final thoughts? Even though what you just said was pretty awesome, but do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Yes. If you look around the world and it seems dark to you, the main way you fix that darkness is by lighting yourself up, by turning the spotlight on yourself, looking at your quirks and foibles and flaws and characteristics and traits, looking at your strengths and powers and superpowers and inclinations and passions and hobbies and kinks and fetishes, everything that calls to you and that makes you you. And then, like an artist, sculpting away things that don't quite suit you, changing things that you want to be better, and turning up things that you really want the world to see about you and to appreciate and to recognize and to value. And if we all do that, if we all turn the light on ourselves and start moving forward from that point, instead of spotlighting everybody else and nitpicking everybody else and criticizing everybody else, that is how the world gets lighter. That is where you have the most power and the most control. And as a good role model who leads by example, you lighting yourself up will light up others too. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it doesn't take courage, but it's really the only way. So let's rise together. You got this.
And that's why our book and this podcast are called Eyes Wide Open. After today, you'll know how to shine that spotlight on yourself to help you be clear on what you need to fix and how you need to fix it. So now you can go to this video here called 21 Harsh Truths to Un-F Your Life, to help you un-F your life and to help you keep your eyes wide open.
Keep rising.